want to start this bad boy?
I don't know. Let's just jump into it.
What's up, guys? It's Old Man Gabe. Finally got on this one of a podcast. This week we're going to talk about the upcoming regionals prep programming, end of the season. Did you make it or not? And should you follow?
All right, Drew, what do we have coming up?
April 10th to the 12th, Williamsburg, Virginia, Misfit Training Camp at Drake and Crossfit.
Who's going to be there?
Me, you, Cody Mooney, Alex Smith, Edward Bonifant III.
Maybe some more surprise guests?
Yeah.
The T-shirts are out for regionals. If you want to be in that big group of crazy purple people running around during the different regions, grab your shirt now while we still have some available. And just one more quick announcement. Future podcasts, we're going to have some of the guys from ROMWAD on to talk about their product and how it's actually really been helping our athletes recover and gain some flexibility. I think people have seen some pretty good results in just about a month of using it.
I saw Sherb actually catch a full snatch below parallel. So, I mean, it must work.
There you go. Wow, that's amazing for him.
That's like supernatural.
Yeah.
And if you are interested in trying it yourself, use the code MISFIT. You get 25% off, so not bad. It's pretty affordable for the results you're going to get. So.
Yeah, and what's cool about ROMWAD is we didn't go to them or they didn't come to us in some sort of money-making scheme.
Right.
We had a handful of athletes come to us and say, you guys need to check out ROMWAD. And it was one of those situations where we all started doing it. They noticed that we started doing it. Some pretty cool guys and girls over there that we were able to connect with a little bit, and we're going to try to collaborate a little bit more. But it was one of those things where we started talking about and using their product because it actually works, not because we're trying to make some sort of business deal. So,
and for people that kind of brush off mobility or don't want to stretch, whatever, it's the easiest thing ever. I hate stretching, and you put the video on, and I have to do it till the video finishes.
Yeah.
Easiest way to be held accountable. So it's pretty cool. I like it. All right. Okay, guys. So the Open is over. Congratulations to everyone going to regionals. Really tough season. A lot of kind of tricks thrown our way. New movements we haven't seen. Things we prepared for, but things we may not have expected to see in the Open. Good fight. We had a pretty good showing, so we're pretty happy with that. There's a lot of you out there that are now wondering, okay, the Open's over. My season's over. What's next? So I don't just want to be a cheerleader on the sideline. Where's my training go from here? How do I progress next year? How do I begin to set my goals for the 2016 season? And that's kind of what we want to talk about in this episode. So what do you think? Where does someone go from here? What kind of levels are we talking about with athletes? We got people that are finishing in the thousands that obviously need more specific work or maybe just some more foundational work. We got people that were in the top 100 that are kind of on that bubble trying to get to the next level. They may need something a little different. Where do we start?
I'd say that you've got two pretty specific choices now. The first choice, if you feel like there was just something little went wrong, whether it was the clean and jerk, whether the new handstand push-up standard was a little bit of an issue for you, but you feel like you are a regionals athlete, you will be given the option to follow our regionals programming. Our regionals programming every year is private. You'll see that there's going to be a password associated with it. That password is given to all of the regionals athletes, but if you're an athlete that wants to follow along with them, compare scores with them, and then at some point simulate regionals for yourself to kind of just follow through with your season to see where you're at, then you can purchase the regionals programming. Now, my question to you guys is, who should be doing that and who should be careful? Where's that line? Where do you want to draw that? Is it more about how much free time you have, or is it more about whether you should be doing it or not? I think there's more than one factor here. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been on the both ends of that. I've been on I just barely missed out a couple years ago. Was that athlete that it was a 1 or 2 scores that could have done a little bit better at, but everything else was right there. Following year made it, and then this year again, it's that one hole that I had that I couldn't really recover from. So I've seen both sides of that, and I think it's very important that you're honest with yourself, and what am I going to do with this? This is a sport. This is it's not a social thing that I think I can hang with these athletes, but I'm not going to fully commit to it. So it's really important that you make the right decision. The regionals programming is not something that is easy to recover from,
right.
And potentially you could be really spending your time hammering weaknesses and making a lot more progress.
But what's that line for you? So if you were talking about people that sort of have no business beating themselves up, doing the volume, doing the intensity, doing the weights, the regional stuff is not really meant to be scaled. It's written as is because it's written as we expect to see things at regionals. So where's that line for you? Like, you do a lot of remote coaching. You have a lot of athletes that are going to fall in both sides of the fence there. Is there a number you can put on it? Like, is there a top 100 it's worth taking a shot at top 250? Or is it like, if you're out of the top 48 from last year, then forget it. We need to work on other stuff. Like, where do you begin to try to figure that out?
I mean, I think anybody outside of the top 100, that usually means that you had either you had cumulative high scores, or you had one big score that really pushed you out. And so I think that you need to just go pinpoint what those are and get back to work on the basics, on the weaknesses. And then if you're inside of that top 100, I mean, you really can't be inside of the top 100 now without, doing pretty well on most things. So I think that's a good line right there. But then I also think, I mean, for myself, for example, I'm not really a young upcoming athlete. We have so many younger athletes that, for example, Austin, one of our athletes, last year he was in the 120s. Now he's going to be in the top 100. And so you can see the progress. You can see it getting closer and closer, and maybe that's just a time frame thing. Maybe it's one more year.
For Austin, is it worth it to him to do the regionals programming and then test himself at that level?
Absolutely, because if you can look forward and you can see yourself potentially making regionals next year, right, then I would say, okay, go ahead and do that regionals program.
And with Austin, you've got a college student, so you've got someone that probably is going to have the time, because there are 2 sessions in the regionals programming, right, and it's not going to work the same way if you don't do it in 2 sessions and you don't follow the recovery and the warm-ups and all this different stuff. And then you have something with Austin that we saw this year. He may or may not have had enough confidence maybe 6 months ago to really make a run at this, whereas now he's got a little bit more. What if he has a hell of a showing just day to day in this regionals prep, does the regionals workouts and says, man, I think I could have gone to regionals and come in 18th place. That might be a confidence booster. That might send him into the off-season program with a little bit more, I don't know, not necessarily just confidence, but a little bit more,
feels
enthusiasm.
Like he belongs. He feels like he should be a part of the conversation on the blog. All those things come into play. And if you feel like you're a part of it, then you feel like you have to put the intensity in, and the intensity in is progress out. So all those things are major factors.
I think with the line drawn at the top 20, and I don't see it changing much. They're not going to say next year, oh, well, we made a mistake. It's not going to be top 20. No. It's going to go top 48 again. I think it's a clear line. It's after this year, it's going to be clearer to other athletes. I think where that is, and the big thing for you, like for me coming into this season, I know you asked when they announced it's going to be top 20, like, so how do you feel about that? You could go 2 ways. You can say I don't belong. I just don't see myself being a top 20 athlete. Or you could say, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to be. And that confidence there, that thinking that you belong and knowing that I am going to be in that group, it's going to change your training. I've seen that on a day-to-day basis with myself. throughout the Open. Obviously the first week was the clean and jerk that kind of, oh man, I suck. I'm terrible at CrossFit. And every week after that, it was like, oh man, I killed some really good athletes at this workout. And after that, like the rest of that week, after a good week in the Open, was a really good training week for me, because I was like, oh man, I actually do have what it takes. I could beat these people.
So you bring up a good point, and using you as the example again, I think one thing that we'll find a lot of athletes focus on too much is what kept them back this year. So again, using you, it's just simply the clean and jerk. It gave you all the points that kept you away from going. In fact, you have a bunch of top 50 scores in the world on other workouts. So just that clean and jerk alone was the reason that you're not continuing on with your season. Now, is that cause for panic and saying, okay, in the off season now I'm picking up a strict weightlifting program and I got to get my clean and jerk up 50 pounds in the next 6 months, and then I'll worry about everything else after? Or is it the type of thing where you go, okay, so I'm pretty good, my workouts are good, my conditioning is good, my skills are pretty good, my clean and jerk's off, I'm going to do the regionals prep stuff, and then as I get to come to cycle 1 again or more in the off season, I can sort of pick weightlifting as my extra piece when that becomes an option again, focus more on that, kind of triage my needs and make that a priority, but not skip the rest of it. Like, how do you approach that as an athlete?
So I think for myself, there are two different answers for that. Myself, this is my second full year following the programming, and so I fully trust in it. And I definitely, every athlete's different, and so they're going to have their strengths and weaknesses. And but I'm going to fully trust in the program, and I'm going to I'm not going to step outside of that to. Initially, I guess, if you're coming in from a different program and you have that big weakness, you got to figure out why is it that you have that weakness.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the biggest part that needs to be said, because in my opinion, you're not going to regionals because of your shoulder flexibility,
right?
Not because you're not strong enough, because the strides you've made over the last 2.5 years in strength have been pretty remarkable. But if I can squat clean it fairly easily, I can get it to my shoulder, the dip drive feels good, getting under it feels good, weight goes overhead just fine. Well, not overhead, in front of head. Mm-hmm. If that's the limiting factor, do you really need to be, just completely blowing up this whole situation and saying I need to work on my clean and jerk, or do you need to work on your shoulder flexibility for 9 months and have a completely different showing next year? I mean, for me, and then on the other regard, it might just be form. So if you follow a strength program with shitty form, you're not really going anywhere with that. So very, very rarely is someone almost a regionals athlete and they're just weak, just plain out, just I'm not strong enough. I need to work on my strength. That's usually an excuse for someone that's not all that interested in working really hard.
No question.
So one other scenario, let's say you've got a top 40 athlete, and whether they know it or not, the reason that they didn't make it is more of a time commitment thing. So they're top 20 caliber, but they've got a full-time job.
Right.
They're either cramming too much programming into a short period of time, or they're not doing enough. I mean, what do you say to them? Do they try to follow this? Do they try to reevaluate their whole life? I mean, I think it's probably a reality in a lot of places.
Well, again, this is all comes back to goal setting and priorities, because some people with a family and a full-time job, as much as their dreams may be going to regionals, the CrossFit Games, you can't just tell your kids, sorry, daddy's going to work out today. Like, that's not, you can't do that every day. You can't. But there is a fine line between not putting in enough and putting in too much, where you're cramming things in and you're not getting out of it what you're trying to get out of it. And that, that's a great time to get remote coaching from somebody to get that specific advice based on your lifestyle, your time commitments, things like that. But also, if you have another coach at your gym or you have training partners that can help you evaluate, it may be the case where, you can definitely follow the blog, but you might not be doing those pick 1, pick 2 days. You might be hitting the mandatory stuff and being really strict about the way you move and the way you're putting your energy into those pieces that you can afford to do. Top 40, that's what, a couple reps went wrong on one workout and they didn't go to regionals this year, right?
Right.
So they're there. Again, just like you were talking about, figuring out why they didn't get there. Was it one movement in particular that didn't go their way? Was it the clean and jerk that they missed their lift? Was it, figure out what that is. Just focus a little more on cleaning up that one weakness that you may have been able to identify, and then just get back to work and find that line that's that perfect balance for you, that you're recovering, but still putting in time and working hard. I mean, I don't know if there's a easier, simpler answer than that.
No, I don't think so. I think it's so much case by case, but as long as we can give as many different cases advice that we can think of.
I mean, we can work with anybody in any situation. It's just a matter of what you want to commit to us, sort of, to make it work.
Yeah. So the point of this podcast really is for the other side. We just covered scenario number 1. Scenario number 2 is I didn't make it. I either don't have time to follow this regionals programming, or it's not a good idea, blah, blah, blah. What kept people from going, if you just kind of go through the open workouts a little bit, what kept people from going to regionals? Is motor, just in general, I wasn't in good enough shape to make it. Is that going to be covered in the cycle that goes from this Monday to the CrossFit Games? Will that be covered?
That's one of our priorities. So, yes.
I didn't clean and jerk very much, and it wouldn't have mattered if it was clean and jerk, if it was snatch, if it was back squat, whatever it is. Is that covered in this program?
Yes. Heavy 1 rep maxes will be covered, along with percentages of that to work off of.
Number 3, I have a hell of a motor. I'm strong as shit. My gymnastics are just ugly as hell. And even though my muscles could probably take it if I learned to do them right, I don't do them right. Will that be covered in the cycle?
Yes.
Okay. So obviously those questions were set up, and
what else is there?
What's that?
What else is there? What else would hold somebody back from being a good CrossFitter?
Weird. Yeah. So what we don't do in the 17 weeks from today until cycle 1 starts after the CrossFit Games is we don't complicate things, okay? You're going to get into the gym and you're going to do a weakness warm-up. Your weakness warm-up is going to be something like 100 cals on the bike, row 2K, go run a mile or 2. Getting yourself comfortable, putting in the reps that those guys at regionals, I guarantee, have done 200% more meters than you have, and calories and all these different things. So that's just accumulation there. That's almost kind of like putting the 10,000 hours in.
Yep.
You've got your lifting. You've got your conditioning. We're going to keep the conditioning nice and simple. We're working on motor. And then we're going to back out the gymnastics a little bit and really try to clean those up and add capacity at the same time. Sort of similar to how we kind of ramp up through the season, but we're putting the pieces together in a very simple, lower volume form so that it's doable for everybody. And what's really cool is you're going to have test retest in there. So you're going to be able to see how much progress did I really make in 6 weeks. And I think everybody will be really surprised and happy with where they go with that.
What I like about this part of the year is, you get to break everything down, kind of see the more raw side of how we've built everybody up through the whole year, put it together. But also, it doesn't take 2 hours to do the pieces on the blog. You can enjoy your summer. You can make one of your days, if you want to do extra pieces instead, you go swimming at the beach, or you go hiking up the mountain, or you go for a bike ride, or you play some kind of sports outside. Like, it gives you the ability to use your fitness and kind of put that as part of your training with everything else. The volume is still, compared to a lot of other, regular 1 watt a day programs, it's still considerably higher. You're still working really, really hard, but it allows you to stay fresh. It allows you to have more options. And if there is one extra thing that you're not seeing that you feel like you need, you will find time during the week to practice that little extra skill if you need to slide it in there. So, and not only does everything I just said, I like a lot of that, but it also ties in perfectly to cycle 1. So if you ignore this and then think you're just going to jump back into cycle 1, you're going to be behind all the people that were practicing that and that got the experience of going through regionals and the games and everything else. And you're going to be like, sort of not starting over, but feeling like, all right, I'm a little bit behind. I got to play catch up. And that's a bad way to start off the season. So
when your body's not made to be beat up 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year.
Right.
So we love that you guys like the volume, but it's not always necessary if we're really trying to grow. I mean, you're actually breaking down your body while you're training. And unless there's a recovery period and you break it down again, you don't get better. It doesn't work that way.
You get injured.
This is honestly the best time of the year, I think, just because you can. Everything's fresh on your mind of what you really need to work on, and you really can hit it hard. You think, oh well, I don't have as much to do. I can have fun with this, but you really actually end up working a lot harder on each piece, and that's better than doing just a bunch of stuff and kind of not having 100% intensity on it. So it's a lot of fun.
Good.
Another aspect of this that's kind of cool, and Gabe is going to be able to answer this a little bit better than Seth or I, is from my point of view, I think that the people that follow this program for the 17 weeks between now and the games, they're going to have a little bit of a head start on the regionals and games athletes. I mean, what I watched you guys go through last year, I mean, it worked, but it was brutal, both mentally and physically, right?
Absolutely. It takes a big toll on every aspect of your life. Sleep is tougher. Family obligations are tougher. Literally, you wake up and you have to think, okay, how can I train? How can I train today with intensity? How can I
train twice, three
times? Yeah. And nobody else is doing it. Maybe last year we were lucky to have a group of athletes here doing the same thing. But if you're the only one in your area, when you have to pick people to, hey, come try to do this piece with me, nobody else is doing it. Everybody else, you see somebody go, hey, let's go have a drink. Let's go this or that. I mean, yeah, you have to give up a lot, and it definitely takes its toll. I remember, it working really well, but it was for one specific competition, for regionals for me, and then, for the games for those athletes. And then when you get back, it's like you've done so much work specifically for one goal. Now it's like, okay, what is CrossFit again? Is it just hang power cleans and muscle ups and pistols? Oh, no. And then, come back into the, just had a little bit of deload and come back into it. And it's like, oh man, like this is, I remember doing these
How
so
much
long
fun
ago.
Is it after
was
it's
so
over?
good.
Yeah.
It's a big relief. And it's like, okay, it's so much more to this. You remember that general fitness and doing all these things that you love to do. It's very demanding, so it's not something that you can just, I should do this. There's going to be no effect on it. You might lose a girlfriend over it. You might have to sleep on the couch. Yeah, I was preparing for regionals, had to sleep on the couch a couple nights. So it's not easy for sure.
And it's not to scare people away from spending your money to see what these guys are doing either. But at the same time, we want you to be as healthy as you can and prepare yourself best you can to get into cycle one and get back into the season next year. I mean, we don't need to hear that midway through you going through the regionals training and you didn't go to regionals is you get a back injury or something because you're just overtraining, over volume, doing something you're really not prepared to do. And that's the last thing we want to see. If you do want to buy it and try some of the pieces, though, I mean, I'm all for that.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Misfitgear.com.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, I think people will do a pretty good job of assessing who has, a place and should be trying a lot of this, or at least getting it. And maybe not doing every single piece, but experiencing a lot of what they're dealing with and then putting themselves through the regionals test when the workouts get released. I think people do a good job of self-assessing who needs to do that, who doesn't. If you have questions, I mean, comment section, we're all over that. So,
absolutely. I think probably the last part to this podcast, and Ted can cue up the Eminem music,
One chance.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
If you guys have been following what we've been doing for the last few years, you've seen people go from who the hell is that to the CrossFit Games. You've seen people go from 50 pounds overweight to regionals. You've seen these drastic changes, these names you've never heard before, or these people reinventing themselves as athletes. You need to know that if you're ready to commit yourself to this, that is 100% possible still.
Yep.
Even with the change with the top 20. A few years ago, if you did your Metcons and your strength and you worked pretty hard and you were a decent athlete, you had a really good shot at regionals.
Yeah.
That's just not the case anymore. So it's not necessarily, to me, about how much talent you have as much as it is about being realistic with yourself of how much work you need to put in, how much focus you need to put in to every individual piece. And, you know, following some random weightlifting program here for the next couple of weeks or doing all these different things, you will 100% undoubtedly be behind.
Yep.
And there's a reason why we are calling this cycle 2016 Regionals Prep, because our website is written for regionals athletes. So if you didn't make it this year and you want to go next year, what you're doing right now, starting today, is 2016 Regionals.
People
Prep.
need to remember that we are still one of only a few really successful blogs out there that is writing specifically for the CrossFit Games. If you just go and jump on a weightlifting cycle, whether it's powerlifting or Olympic lifting or whatever, they don't care about your goals of regionals next year. They're going to say, yeah, we can add a few pounds on your back squat or on your snatch or whatever. But does that really translate into you being more successful through the open next year? Probably not, right?
Well, we've seen it too many times to know that it's not.
Exactly. Gabe, final thoughts. What do you think?
I think that following the blog and looking at the growth and seeing more people, whether they started with us and I've seen a couple people that, sorry, my scores are very modest and they've come a long, long way. I think that one of the best things about this is that you have all of our sponsored athletes posting daily. You have, other people who are coming up very fast and improving very fast. And so just in itself, you can tell a lot about where you are as an athlete and where you need to be as an athlete for the upcoming season through the results on the blog and through what everybody else is talking about. So one of the things, I guess a specific example of it is, I always thought I was good at things like toes to bar and whatnot. And then as I see some people that, I look at the scores pretty frequently, I see some people that I would smoke in these workouts come along and beat me in these workouts. It's like, oh, wait, maybe good that I used to be good isn't really good anymore. So I really need to remind myself to work on that as a big essential piece in the sport that I participate in. So you can really learn a lot from the growing community and how good these athletes are becoming. And it helps keep you accountable there. So if you're doing your own thing, if you go off, for a few weeks and you're, I'm just going to lift here, and you're going to come back and you're going to find somebody who, you're going to find the Travis Williams who should never beat me at a chest to bar workout, beats me at a chest to bar workout. It's like, it's going to happen to you. So just make sure that you get on board and that you really address it from the very beginning, because you'll be shocked at what's going to happen at the end of a full year of it.
Well said.
Perfect.
All right. I guess until next time, subscribe, like, follow. Anything else I need to do, Ted?
Misfitgear.com.
Yeah, misfitgear.com. That's right. So, see you guys later.